Story 1. Caesar salad. Now I could eat a huge bowl every day if the calorie gods were kinder. Story 2. Potato salad. I had bad white potato salad as a kid and thought I hated all potato salad. I never had it again until I tried yellow potato salad as an adult, and I love it. It has to have mustard, though. I will still never eat white potato salad. Story 3. Pulled pork. I love making it all day and cooking about 3 at a time. Story 4. Used to not like stuffing. Now, a Thanksgiving plate without stuffing is like a world without water. It is delicious. Story 5. Sushi was definitely an acquired taste, but I have grown to love it as an adult now that I can afford to get it from real, more authentic restaurants. Story 6. Rice. As a child, it was so boring, but now I add ingredients when I cook it. Even a little salt makes a big difference. I am pretty sure the change is in preparation, not in my taste buds. Story 7. Sour cream. I despised it when I was a kid. I look for new ways to use it nowadays. I can't get enough. I had it on top of spaghetti bolognese earlier and will do again here shortly. Story 8. Feta cheese. As a child, I remember saying it tastes like baby poop smells. As an adult, I love it. I would add it to everything if it would not make me gain weight. Story 9. Macaroni and cheese. I hated it as a child, but now it is my favorite dish. Or just anything with cheese. Story 10. Fish, I think mostly because of some negative experiences with cafeteria food. Now I love it. Still cannot eat shrimp, though. Story 11. Salad, specifically Caesar salad. I hated the way everything tasted in a salad, and now I don't mind. Story 12. Pizza. I hated pizza as a kid. It was genuinely one of my food dislikes. Now it is easily one of my favorite foods. I was an extremely fussy eater growing up. Everyone assumed I was just difficult and treated me poorly. My mother was worried about it when I was about 2 to 3 years old. She consulted a nutritionist who advised her, "Give him what you cook, and nothing else. When he gets hungry enough, he will eat it." She tried this approach, but I nearly starved myself instead of eating what she offered. At that age, that was not a conscious decision. Eventually, she decided to give me foods I would eat while maintaining a balanced diet. I learned in my late teens that I am a supertaster. I have more than twice the number of taste buds compared to a typical person. An example of how this affects me is with tomatoes. They taste extremely bitter. To illustrate, tomatoes taste to me like licking a Nintendo Switch game cartridge. Literally the same flavor. Story 13. Caviar, champagne, partridge, goose, truffles. 1945 Domaine de la Romanicanti Grand Cru. Yes, I was allowed alcohol as a kid, and I hated it and all the above, but now I love it. Story 14. I do not know that I hated anything, but onions, mushrooms, and olives have definitely grown on me in recent years. I love them all now. Story 15. I just learned that I am not a picky eater and enjoy almost everything posted so far. Story 16. I was the pickiest eater as a kid. My grandparents called me the hot dogs and waffles boy. I eat almost anything today, except for very spicy food. I can handle a little spice now and then, but heat just for the sake of heat does not appeal to me. Story 17. Soups, in general, allow me to eat something tasty without worrying about health. Sounds like a great deal to me. Story 18. Avocado, but it is because my family puts it on all their food dishes and sometimes they add salt and lemon with the excuse that it gives it flavor. I hated it until I discovered that I like to eat half an avocado without any additions and with a spoon. I only spread it on toast with tomato, but otherwise, I do not put it on any other dish. Story 19. Eggplant. I first tried it when my grandmother visited when I was about 6. She made it for family dinner with a boiled preparation that produced a beige-gray bitter sludge. I refused to eat more than one bite and swore it off forever. Some positive experiences that I was encouraged to try in my 30s at a kebab place I frequented and on a trip to Italy changed my opinion. Now I eat eggplant about once a week or more. Story 20. Over easy eggs. I tried them once when I was a kid, maybe it was sunny side up, and I found them really disgusting. I tried putting salt on them, but it did not help. It is strange because now that is my favorite way to have eggs. Story 21. Asparagus. I only ever had it prepared by my grandmother, who would boil it excessively, making it bitter. It wasn't until college that I tried it at a restaurant, and my mind was blown at how delicious it is when prepared correctly. It is probably one of my favorite vegetables now. Story 22. Nothing. I have always liked and always hated the things I have liked and hated. I have never really felt like a child, just a smaller adult. So there is that. Story 23. Milk. My parents bought powdered milk throughout my childhood. The first time I had a glass of whole milk, it was like the clouds parted and the angels sang. Story 24. Jobless absorbed impossible sharp detail book special about outgoing money. Story 25. Grilled cheese is not entirely clear why. I can only guess that the type of cheese used, American cheese, is off-putting. Story 26. Bitter melon. I love that vegetable now. I would love to have it again. Story 27. Black pepper. Hated it on anything and would scrape it off or not eat it. Now I put an absolute ton on everything, especially mashed potatoes. Story 28. When this thread is posted again in a few years, I fully expect my niece to post about pizza, pasta, and mozzarella sticks. Story 29. Banana peppers. I will make a whole salad just to eat them. Story 30. Vegetables. My mom was a decent cook with some things but terrible with vegetables. She would put them in a pot and boil them to death, then throw away the water and give us vegetables that tasted like boiled water. In my 40s, I married a Chinese woman who knew how to cook them, and suddenly I discovered I loved them too. I learned how to cook them from her. Now I am a single dad of 2 teenagers who ask me to cook greens for them. It is one of their favorites. Bok choy, pak choy, spinach, wombok, they love leafy greens. And so do I. Story 31. Baked macaroni and cheese and meatloaf. I could eat that 5 to 7 times a week. That and eggs over very easy on my beloved corned beef hash. I could eat that 7 to 14 times a week. Story 32. Mac and cheese. Corn dogs. I am probably better off if I still do not like them, but at least I do not eat them all the time. A healthy one is bitter melon. I hated the bitterness, but I like it now if it is cooked with other foods like scrambled eggs or small bits of meat. Story 33. Beans. I absolutely hated beans growing up. Beans in chili, beans in burritos, refried beans, baked beans. I would not touch them. As an adult, I love beans, especially in chili and burritos. Story 34. Peas. I hated everything about them as a child. Taste, texture. Yuck. Turns out I just hated canned peas. I love frozen peas. Delicious. And fresh peas. Don't get me started. Story 35. Spinach. My mom used the canned spinach and would literally just heat it up in a pot and serve it with butter, salt, and pepper. I refused to eat it, and once she said I couldn't leave the table until I did. I tried, and it instantly made me gag and throw up. As an adult, I discovered that fresh spinach has many delightful uses in recipes and is also nice in salads. Story 36. Salt and vinegar chips. I absolutely hated them as a kid. Now I love them. Story 37. Various kinds of vegetables are available, but what stands out most is spinach. On the other hand, I used to like only a small amount of fish, but these days I dislike all fish. Story 38. As a child, I hated potato salad. Something about its texture I did not like. Now, I always have some at the family barbecues. Story 39. Strawberries, honey, pecans, sour cream, mustard, ketchup. Story 40. Indian food and roast dinners. My mother used to make low-quality kormas, which influenced my opinion. Roast dinners were just bad at home. It turns out takeaways, pubs, and my own kitchen do better than my mother. Story 41. Pickled mussels. I disliked anything fishy and anything pickled as a kid. Now, pickled mussels on fries are food from the gods to me. Story 42. Tomatoes. I never liked them until I went to Greece. They were incredibly flavorful there. I eat them now, but there is no comparison in terms of taste. Story 43. Peanut butter. I used to hate it as a small child, even the smell. I think it was because there was a child at primary school who always smelled strongly of it. Now I love it. Story 44. Back in the days, I used to hate garlic. Now I cannot cook a single dish without it. It is probably due to the process of getting old. Story 45. Pretzels, man. Their smell used to put me off, but now I love them. Story 46. Peppermint. I do not know why, but at some point it just changed from, these are some of the few candies I refuse to eat, to, mint chocolate is the best combination ever. Story 47. Definitely asparagus. I vividly remember getting into an argument with my grandmother about not getting ice cream until after I ate 3 or 4 spears of asparagus. I refused, but now I can eat an entire pound of them by myself in one go. Story 48. Pickles. Couldn't stand them. I literally have a Polish pickle soup going in the crockpot right now called zupa ogórkowa. It's really good. Story 49. Chili pepper. I have never been a fan of anything too spicy, but in the last 5 years or so, I have not only been able to handle it, but I quite enjoy it now. It is funny how much our tastes change. Story 50. As a kid, I used to say I was allergic to square cheese. I ate macaroni and cheese, pizza, and other foods, but if the cheese was in a square shape, I was allergic to it. Story 51. Onions. I think it is because my mother would make pasta salad, and I swear it would be 60% raw onion and 40% the rest of the ingredients. It was just an overwhelming flavor of onion, and I did not like it. As an adult, I am a big fan of them raw or cooked. Story 52. I am a pretty well-rounded food person. I don't remember hating any particular food. However, I wasn't introduced to many foods mentioned in this thread. One food I used to love when I was young was hot dogs. I can't stand them now at 48 years old. Story 53. I was going to say spankings, but after reading the rest of the comments, I guess I will see myself out. Story 54. Green olives. Child me hated them. Adult me would put them in everything if she could. Story 55. Olives. My brothers and I used to dare each other to eat them and watch their faces get all screwed up with disgust. Now they are my go-to snack, and I love an extra dirty martini. Story 56. Asparagus. Mostly because of my mother's favorite way to prepare food, which is to boil it thoroughly. Once I had it roasted on the grill, I absolutely loved it. Story 57. Agreed with all the comments regarding Brussels sprouts, but I will add fish. I hated fish, but now it is my favorite main dish by far. Story 58. Rice, mashed potatoes, peanut butter, salad, cream cheese, cottage cheese, onions. Story 59. None, to be honest, I am quite consistent with my hatred and still hate all of them. Story 60. I really like broccoli now, but only raw. I do not really like any cooked vegetables. Story 61. Eggs. Growing up, I would only eat scrambled eggs smothered in ketchup. Now, I consume varying amounts of eggs in any form. Story 62. Tomatoes. The thought of eating something with seeds inside it scared me. Story 63. Earl Grey. I remember how I strongly disliked it as a child, both the smell and the taste. Nowadays, and for more than a decade, it is pretty much the only kind of black tea I drink. Story 64. Roasted parsnips, like most vegetables, were something I had weekly and hated. When I left home, I agreed to cook a roast for friends and wanted to make it decent, unlike what we had at home. I was amazed when I roasted the vegetables instead of boiling them. Story 65. Let's see, liver, pineapple, Brussels sprouts, and black olives. I'm sure there are a few more I have forgotten about. Story 66. Mine is different. I loved vegetables as a kid, but now I hate them. Story 67. Beets. I could eat beets every day now. You could not pay me to eat them as a kid. Story 68. Okra and tomatoes cooked in a skillet. When Mom made it, I would say yuck, and Daddy would say, good, more for me. I love okra and tomatoes now. Story 69. If water counts, then that. I wanted juice only. Otherwise, most vegetables and spicy foods. Story 70. Garlic. I hate how it makes your breath stink and the texture is very unpleasant for me. As an adult, I enjoy garlic on everything. Story 71. Pizza. I thought it had to have mushrooms and anchovies on it. Story 72. My grandmother tells me that I hated mashed potatoes when I was 3 to 5 years old. And that is so surprising to me because they are my favorite food now. Story 73. Zucchini. I could eat it daily. As a kid, all I remember is the squeak. Story 74. Zucchini. I could eat it daily. As a kid, all I remember is the squeak. Story 75. All vegetables are actually really delicious when they are fresh and properly cooked, rather than being dumped out of a can and microwaved. Story 76. Parmesan cheese smelled very bad to me as a kid. Now I love it. Story 77. McDonald's hamburgers. Mind you, I live in Poland, so McDonald's is more of a snack or a meal during shopping at a mall or driving somewhere, not a regular staple. Story 78. Cabbage, specifically boiled cabbage. Now I cannot wait for an occasion to boil a batch. Story 79. For my husband, sour cream. For me, a recent taste bud change, I think, is having walnuts or almonds in baked goods. Story 80. Broccoli. I did not like it until I was at a friend's house during college. Her mother made broccoli with cheese sauce. Now I even eat it raw. Story 81. Sour cream. I didn't like it until I had real chili, cheese, onions, and sour cream. When in Rome. Story 82. Garlic. I hated garlic as a kid so much that even pasta sauce or meat made with garlic seasoning seemed gross. Now I am a garlic girl and can pretty much eat it by the clove. Story 83. Steak. My parents got really bad steak. Apparently, it is not supposed to be gray. I now eat good steak cooked medium rare. Story 84. Grapefruit. Although I think most adults seem to dislike it, I love it. Not the ruby red ones, but the white tart ones. Story 85. Pickles. I still hate the weak, soggy pickles, but when they are crisp and juicy, cold from the fridge, they are delicious. Story 86. Freaking Philadelphia cheesesteaks. I did not like the taste of garlic in them, so now I make my own recipes. They are so good. Story 87. Coconut. As a child, I disliked the texture. Now I cannot get it often enough. Story 88. Spinach, alfalfa sprouts, and mushrooms. I eat these daily by choice, not because I have to eat them or go hungry. Story 89. Broccoli. I used to hate it, but now I would eat it at every meal if I could. Story 90. Mushrooms, celery, collard greens, potatoes, not French fries, asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, and most non-sweet vegetables, to be honest. I accept string beans these days. Most of the foods I would not eat as a kid I love now. Story 91. Mustard. You may say it is not a food, but I ate a whole jar with a teaspoon once for money on a teenage dare. It was not worth 20 pounds, but did not mentally scar me enough to prevent me from dipping every sausage I can in it. German mustard is the one, the only one. Story 92. Really just fruit overall. I'm 30 and just kind of rediscovering the variety of tastes and textures after more than 20 years of eating fruit very sporadically. Also non-fried fish. I was really missing out. Story 93. I grew up in the southern United States. My mother was a homemaker. She would often, about once a week, fix us hard-boiled eggs, chicken pot pies, and boiled greens, usually canned spinach with white vinegar for supper. I hated being forced to eat those greens with white vinegar. Many years later, at a rare family gathering, she made that same meal, but I introduced malt vinegar. My entire family realized at the same moment that we had been eating boiled greens soaked in something that tasted like window cleaner. I would give anything to sit down at that same table I did 30 years ago and eat anything my mother prepared. Story 94. Probably the biggest one is onions. I love cooked onions in food. Story 95. Codfish. Yeah, I'm Portuguese. I used to hate it. The taste was awful, too salty. Nowadays, codfish with cream. Yeah, it's an awesome comfort food. Codfish à la braise, potato chips and egg yolks. Also great comfort food. codfish with cornbread crumbs, codfish a la Lagarero, fried with loads of olive oil and boiled potatoes. These are just a few recipes. I just can't get enough of them. Story 96. Mustard. If a drop of mustard got on something in the past, it was inedible. Now I sometimes literally drink a squirt of mustard for flavor at home. Story 97. Chunky salsas. I hated them as a kid, but I really liked the flavor of dipping chips into them. Now chunky salsa is amazing. Story 98. Brussels sprouts. Roasting is much better than boiling. Story 99. Not food, but V8 original. I have become very addicted to it. Story 100. Coleslaw. It turns out that most restaurants do not make it well. Story 101. Beets. My grandmother made us eat beets from a can. I finally bought some fresh ones, roasted them, and realized how good they really were. Story 102. Broccoli. I could eat it every day now. I also never ate spinach but love it now, not cooked by itself, but I like to use it in certain dishes and love it raw. I introduced my grandchildren to it, and they all like it even though neither of their parents do. Story 103. Black-eyed peas. I couldn't stand them when I was a kid. Now I could eat my weight in them. Story 104. I was about 12 when yogurt started to get really popular in the United States around 1974. The Dannon ads emphasized the live bacterial cultures. I decided I wasn't eating bacteria for anyone and refused to even look at it. About 15 years ago, I was looking through the grocery coupon inserts in the Sunday paper. Yoplait had a page talking about new flavors, and one flavor was key lime. Our grocery store doubled coupons up to $1, so I decided to try it. The double coupon amount meant I could toss it without feeling guilty if I didn't like it. Oh man, was that good. They also have strawberry, blueberry, chocolate, and strawberry cheesecake flavors. Why didn't someone tell me about this before? Story 105. Vegetables. I do not even know why. As a child, I was all about junk food and sweets, and now I would rather have some rice with vegetables instead, especially broccoli. Story 106. Weirdly, bell peppers. I used to find them bitter and extremely spicy. Now I am absolutely in love with them. Story 107. Avocados. Green, creamy, and delicious. My mom used to add them to salads. Now, I am in love with a ripe avocado. I eat them plain or with dressing. Story 108. Cilantro. Enjoyment of it is supposed to be genetic, but a switch flipped when I was 18 and I started to like it. Story 109. Potatoes. I did not even eat fries when I was a child. Now, I love potatoes in all ways. Story 110. Asparagus. Please do not ever leave me around asparagus. I will tear it apart like a chimp on Adderall. Story 111. Sparkling water. Back then I was like, bro, what the heck? How do people drink this? But now it is one of my favorite drinks. The sparkle is just fantastic. Story 112. Onions. I could not even stand Funyuns rings. Now I love both of them. Story 113. Most vegetables. I now know it was because they were always prepared poorly, just boiled with a little salt and pepper. They taste better with almost any type of preparation. Story 114. Arugula salad. So easy. Arugula, shredded carrots, lemon balsamic, and shaved cheese. So delicious. Story 115. My mother's sweet potato casserole at Thanksgiving, the one with marshmallows and candied pecans. It looked unappealing to me as a child, but now I love it and look forward to it every year. Story 116. Cucumbers. Picked over 10 cucumbers in one day from just 2 mature plants. Story 117. I hate to admit it, but my parents did not cook pork chops very well. To be fair, they did not cook pork chops very often, but I had a negative impression of them from the times I did try them. Then one day in college, one of my friends had a small camping grill on his porch and felt like grilling some pork chops. I realized I had been missing out. Story 118. Olives. They tasted strange, strong but creamy. I can still remember that. Now I eat them as if there is no tomorrow. Story 119. Black licorice. Do you know what changed my opinion about it? Sherbet fountains. My mom got me a sherbet fountain when I was a teenager. and I did not realize it had black licorice on the inside. You were supposed to lick it, dip it inside, then lick the sherbet off. Story 120 Fish. I never used to eat any seafood, and when I met my wife, she did not either. However, over the 19 years I have been with her, I have started to eat fish, not oily types but any crumbly white fish such as cod, haddock, and hake. I even had mahi-mahi in Mexico, much to her chagrin. Story 121. Salad. I hated it. Now it is my favorite thing ever. Story 122. Raw onions. At one point as a kid, I would pick them off Big Macs or Quarter Pounders. Now I like my burgers with a thick slab of onion as thick as the burger. Story 123. Mushrooms. I used to never want to touch them, but now I love them. Story 124. Bananas. My parents would pick the brownest bananas, and no one would eat them except my dad. They would turn black, and my mom made bread with them. They were gross. Story 125. Onions. I like them in specific ways such as caramelized, grilled, and pickled. They make everything taste better. Story 126. Onions. I hated them in everything, but now I like them any way you can cook them. Onion rings, sautéed onions, raw. They make any sauce better. Story 127. Olives. I will absolutely enjoy some garlic-stuffed olives. Blue cheese, sun-dried tomato, put it into my veins. Let's go. Story 128. Spanish tortilla. I used to hate both onions and soft potatoes until I learned to make them myself. Story 129. Broccoli. Though I prefer it as a garnish to other food rather than just by itself, it is a great flavor enhancer. I especially love broccolini. Story 130. Broccoli. My mom tried for years to get me to eat broccoli, and as much as I didn't hate it, I didn't enjoy it. I crave that thing so much now. Story 131. Bell peppers. I would literally throw up if I ate them because I hated the taste so much. Then I got pregnant and started loving them. Story 132. Dark chocolate was bitter when I was a child, but it is delicious now that I am older. Story 133. Cooked carrots. Now I have the exact opposite texture. Anytime a carrot crunches in my mouth, I want to die a little bit. Story 134. Cabbage. Brussels sprouts. I hated them as a kid but eat them constantly as an adult. Potatoes too. Story 135. Hot dogs. I thought they all tasted gross like salty metal water. Then one day at summer camp they had a cookout, but they only had hot dogs. It was weird. I was so hungry I ate 3 with no problem, and now I love a good hot dog, Chicago style preferably. Story 136. I can tell you the opposite. When I was a toddler and child, I was obsessed with bananas to the point where my doctor was actually concerned about how many I was eating in a day. Since becoming a teenager and into adulthood, I will not even touch a banana or eat anything with banana in it. Story 137. Eggs sunny side up. My mother made the best scrambled eggs. No one has made any scrambled eggs better anywhere I have eaten. So when she makes other types of egg dishes, I would not eat them. Now my wife makes sunny side up eggs for breakfast every morning before we go about our day. Story 138. Fries. I don't know why, but I used to hate them. Now I cherish their salty flavor. If you ever go to a McDonald's, I am the person ordering 3 large fries. Story 139. Beets. Sometimes I get a craving and eat them for days. Story 140. Hummus made me gag as a kid because I hated it so much. Now I am in love with it. Story 141. Processed cheesecake like the kind you would find at the Cheesecake Factory. As a kid, they tasted very artificial and unpleasant. As an adult, I cannot taste as well, and it just comes across as a mature taste. Story 142. Hated mushrooms, but one day I got a severe case of coronavirus disease 2019 back in 2021. 3 weeks later, I was craving them. Physically hurt me, it felt like, so I went to our local bar and ordered 4 mushroom and Swiss burgers. It was heaven. I still get cravings for them occasionally, and my friends laugh at me for it. Story 143. Chili. I couldn't handle spicy food, and even when my parents made it mild, they used way too much cumin. I made it for myself on a whim at university, and now I love it, probably the thing I am best at cooking. I brought the less cumin lesson home as well. Also, I now add hot sauce to almost anything, pizza, tuna pasta bake, whatever. Story 144, weirdly enough, potatoes. I despise the texture of potatoes and would only ever eat French fries. I don't know what changed, but now I eat them with nearly every dinner. Story 145. Plain old steamed broccoli with just a sprinkle of coarse sea salt. It is so good. Story 146. Maybe pickles, but I still hate the ones I disliked as a kid, such as those from McDonald's. However, I enjoy the pickles I get on chicken burgers sometimes. Story 147. Pickles. They used to be disgusting, but in the last year I have started liking them. I am 36. Story 148. Cream cheese. That might be because back in the 1980s and 1990s, the inexpensive cream cheese my mother used to buy probably had very little in common with real cheese. Story 149. Alliums add depth and sweetness to many dishes. However, as a child, they were too pungent. Story 150. Fish. I hated it before. Now I eat it at least a few times a week. Story 151. Cooked carrots, they always had to be raw for me. I have no idea why. Story 152. Sashimi. The first time I had raw salmon, I spat it out because it was slimy. Now I love it. Story 153. Sendal is a Malaysian dessert consisting of shaved ice, which is larger and rougher than bingsu, coconut milk, palm sugar, and pandan jelly, among other ingredients. Story 154. Carrots. I would literally hide them in a napkin and throw them away, but they are so nice now. I mean, it probably helps that I am not just plain boiling them, even though I sometimes do like boiled carrots now too. I have learned better ways to cook them. Story 155. Popeye's biscuits. How did I not enjoy that crispy, buttery goodness sooner? Younger me was an idiot. Story 156. Cheese. If it was not melted on pizza or in macaroni, I wanted nothing to do with it as a kid. Funny enough, trying smoked cheese made me rethink my stance. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.